Hey everyone, welcome back to Jeff Teaches Bowling, and today we've got a ball review and we're going to take a look at the newest announced ball from Ebonite. It's the GB5 Pearl. So the GB5 was a solid ball that came out last year. It's a ball that a lot of the bowlers on the Pro Tour like, and it hasn't had a Pearl version yet, and so here it is, HK22 plus combined with the Ebonite's very successful 12.7 GB cover stock. So we are expecting some good things out of this ball. We'll compare it to the GB5 Solid, which I'm sure that comparison, we can kind of figure out what it's going to do. But I also brought a GB4 Hybrid. So that should be a little closer comparison so we can see what this ball does compared to that. So let's go down onto the lanes and we'll take a look.
All right, so we're out here at Strikers Lanes, and I'm just going to quickly apologize in advance. I had some technical difficulties with my microphone as I was taking these shots, so I'm forced to have to do the voiceover afterwards and hopefully remember everything that I did. So again, I apologize for that. But I started off standing about 20, hitting 13-ish, and the ball just hooked a little too much. I moved in a bit, and it still saw it early. I was kind of impressed with how much the ball actually hooked. It's got that typical Gamebreaker shape. It's not a very go long and snap kind of ball you'd expect in a lot of Pearls. It's still got that round motion, just in a cleaner and flippier version. So I moved more left. I flat 10, so I thought, okay, well, maybe I moved too much. I moved my feet one board to the right and tried to pitch it more into the dry. And it was okay. It still didn't come back quite enough. So I moved my feet a little more to the right to see if maybe this would be good enough. And I thought maybe I overthrew that a little bit. It hit the pocket. It hit powerfully, but I thought maybe I overthrew it a little much. So on this shot, I decided to slow down a little bit. Just make it sure it sees the dry, and now it saw too much. It almost 4-9'd. So I'm like, okay, well, if it's going to do that, and that's kind of the speed I want to throw it, I'm just going to move in more. I want to make sure the ball has time to react. So I moved in more, and I hit that fast 8. It still saw too much. So again, the GB5 Pearl, it does move. Even in this oil, it's still hooking a bit. So I moved more left, and now it's pretty good. So the GB5 Pearl for me looked best when I was playing left, getting it to the right with not too much ball speed, at least for me. For maybe other people, it's a normal speed. For me, this is just a pinch slow, but it made sure that the ball was able to read the dry well, and to see that and still react with that big sweeping shape that we've come to expect from Gamebreaker, the entire series. So this is the Pearl Gamebreaker 5. There hasn't been a second Gamebreaker 5 since the original Solid one, which I'll throw here in a few shots. So I'm throwing it now. I'm thinking, oh, maybe is the lane drying up a little bit? Maybe did I throw that a little too slow? So I thought, okay, well, I guess I'll just go a little more in, maybe see what that does. And I got that way more in the oil. You can see just kind of keeping it with those fade backs. It didn't really like that too much, at least not when the lane is this kind of fresh, maybe when they're a lot drier. So I moved a little more left. I tried to slow wheel it a bit more, and it liked that a little better. So I thought, okay, well, I think now's a good time to do some ball comparisons from that deep. So I start with the Gamebreaker 5, the solid one, just box surface, and I throw that same shot, and it reacted from there. Obviously, I mean, almost 7-9'd. So definitely an earlier, grabbier ball. I mean, nothing we didn't expect. So I decided to move a little more left, throw it maybe a little harder, and didn't quite see it enough. So because, I mean, the Gamebreaker 5 just isn't that flippy of a ball. So I thought, okay, well, let me change to the Ebonite Real Time, which is a ball that I love just swinging the lane with. And you can see I do that but it's just slower on the back. It's not that it's hooking less overall. I thought it just needed more time to do it. So I tried to keep it in the oil and throw it a little slower, and it never saw it. The real time is a ball that loves going left to right. Just stand as far left as you can and throw it as far right as you can. Keeping it in the oil, it hasn't been that great for me. Just circling the lane, it's been, gangbusters. But you can see, again, keeping it in the oil, it didn't like that too much. So that's a difference between the real time and the GB5. The GB5 would flip from there, I thought. So I switched to the GB4 hybrid. I get it right. It hooks a bit earlier than the GB5. I mean, that's that sweet GB shape that we've just known over the years. So now I say, okay, well, what happens if I keep the GB4 hybrid in the oil, and kind of like the real time, it never sees it. So I think, okay, well, maybe it's just that part of the lane. Let me throw the exact same shot with the GB5 Pearl and see if it actually hooks from there. And it had no problem now. So the GB5 Pearl was definitely stronger than the GB4 hybrid off that same spot. If I got it right, it saw too much, whereas the GB4 hybrid would kind of slow down a little bit and find its way to the pocket. But the GB5 Pearl off the dry was just stronger. So I move in more. It's a little flatter in the oil, but this is definitely something that seems to be stronger than the GB4 hybrid in the going from the left to right. So I think that this is a good arsenal addition on these lanes that just dry up a bit.
So that's what we've got today for the GB5 Pearl from Ebonite. If you have any questions or comments, as usual, please leave them down below. Special thanks to Brunswick Bowling, of course, and Genesis Bowling for their support of the channel, and of course, Strikers Lanes for letting me come out and do these videos here. Greatly appreciate it. Remember, if you like what you see, please drop a comment below. If you have any questions, hit the like and subscribe buttons, really helps the channel out. And until our next video, we'll see you later.